Mob Entertainment just released a recap of Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 on their YouTube channel, and at the surface level, it's a creative retelling to the events of the first chapter. But if we dig a little deeper, we start to find some very interesting details hidden throughout. Details that might be telling us who the main villain will be in Chapter 4. So let's try to uncover some of these mysteries hidden within. A lot of people thought we were going to be getting some kind of teaser for Chapter 4, rather than this video. But what I think Mob Entertainment's goal here is to set up Chapter 4's main villain and the ARG, rather than just releasing a teaser video. Their plan is probably to release one of these story recap videos for each chapter, to then release a teaser for Chapter 4. So we can likely expect 2 more of these kinds of videos before any Chapter 4 stuff. With that being said, they wouldn't give us something like this if it didn't have any overall meaning to the lore. Clearly this is important, and it's not just a recap. Who is the voice that we are hearing? The video opens with the date that we return to the factory, however it's X'd out, but the audio says Playtime Co. Security Log 0125, entry to the front lobby breached by unknown intruder. So this is the factory's security system, and it's interesting that it's still active after all these years. We can assume this because someone or the prototype turned it back on so that they are alerted if anyone enters the facility. This could be teasing that Security Log 0125 is something we might see in the next chapter. Now, the voice begins by explaining how a tale like this always starts simple, how almost everyone inside this toy factory went missing. Here, this voice gives us some more details about the player entering the factory. He labels us as an intruder and goes on about how we broke in. This choice of words is important. Someone or something sent us a letter asking us for help to find the flower. It's theorized that this was Poppy, so we were asked to return, yet this voice describes us as an intruder, also mentioning that we broke in. Keep this detail in mind. The voice continues talking about how we still proceeded into the building even after we were warned to turn back, how we stole the grab pack that was invented by the elusive Elliot Ludwig. The first creation we encountered was Huggy Wuggy. Weaker people would have turned back after this sight, yet we, the intruder, progressed further, how we kept kicking up pieces of the past in our descent. The voice says this with a slight tone of anger. It seems they were not happy with us uncovering the truth with every step we took. The video then glitches out, and if we go through this frame by frame, we can find a few very important details. We can see the Roman numeral for 4 being IV, and then ARG. So this is telling us that Chapter 4 ARG is coming, which is supported by more text saying let the game begin. Therefore, we can expect the ARG for Chapter 4 soon. But if we pause the video again right after, we see a long string of random numbers and letters. If we use a base 32 cipher, this code translates to on felted feet and with bated breath, sleep draws ever near. Obviously, this is likely referring to the villain or story of Chapter 4, but I have to point out the obvious. This is very reminiscent of catnap. On felt feet could mean actual felt being thick fabric, just like catnap's feet. Bated breath means to hold your breath, and sleep draws ever near just means you will fall asleep soon. So if we put all this together, it could roughly mean catnap is near, hold your breath or you will fall asleep. This makes sense considering catnap can exhale the red gas that will put you to sleep if you inhale it. But like I said, it's probably for the main villain or story of Chapter 4. So in less specific terms, this could mean be careful what you do, death is near. Feet or moving and breathing are things you do, and sleeping could be referring to death, hinting that the story might not have a happy ending for us. But we will come back to this. Continuing on, the voice talks about how we stirred one of the factory's security measures, and he performed exactly as he was designed. This is obviously referring to Huggy Wuggy, how his job was the factory's security, but the tone of this voice when explaining this sounded as if he was fascinated by Huggy's ability to perform his job. Again, keep this in mind. We then watch the famous Huggy chase sequence through the maze-like ventilation shafts. The voice was impressed that we were able to make it this far. From here, we see another angle of Huggy's death. The voice mentions this collapsing catwalk that sent our dear Huggy plummeting into the depths below. He used the term our, but also did not mention if Huggy Wuggy actually died. I think Huggy is still alive, and this just supports that. During chapter 2, in the water treatment zone, there was a vent surrounded by blood and blue fur that could be seen in a specific room. So maybe Huggy was able to survive the fall and has been hiding somewhere deep within the facility to avoid the prototype, as he likely thinks Huggy is still dead. So it's very possible that Huggy Wuggy is still alive, or the prototype was just dragging Huggy's dead body through the vents. We do know that the prototype uses them to move around, but I'll let you decide if Huggy's still alive. The voice explains how we moved into a room that the public was never meant to see. It wasn't a factory floor or a corporate office. This place was different, but not even a hint of the missing staff was anywhere to be found. At the end of this long hall was a room, and inside this room was a glass case. Inside this case was none other than Poppy. The voice ends with, "We shall see what comes of it, won't we?" A line that gave me chills. So who is this voice? I think everyone's first guess is the prototype. I mean, this could make sense. We do know from chapter 3 that he is able to mimic anyone's voice. So either this is the prototype's actual voice, or this is someone else's that we have just never heard of before. Considering he seems to be pulling all of the strings with these still alive toys, it would make sense that he is narrating this. He sees us as an intruder to his home. But this is too obvious. Considering how dense the lore here is, I don't think Mob Entertainment would present something like this. I think the voice in this video is actually the main villain for chapter 4. Right now, we don't really have any idea as to what this new bigger body toy could be, and it feels like it wouldn't really make sense to introduce another toy. Considering how much time we've spent inside the facility, I feel like we would have seen something new. So to implement another random character might kind of feel out of place. So I think the voice in this video and the villain for chapter 4 is none other than Dr. Harley Sawyer. It makes perfect sense. It was never confirmed as to what happened to him after the Hour of Joy. He could very well still be alive. I think he was able to hide somewhere inside the factory during the massacre, a secret place that only he knew about. After all these years, he has been studying how the toys act while they're no longer controlled by Playtime Co. He has been watching over his creations this whole time, something a scientist would do. So when we return to the factory, he made this voiceover video of what we did inside. He labels us as an intruder because he realized we are trying to stop his work, to uncover the crimes he has committed. This is also why he sounded so fascinated by Huggy Wuggy's ability. He was admiring his work in action, witnessing it firsthand. He kept using terms like we and our because he has always been involved. Our Huggy Wuggy. We will see what happens with Poppy. Remember at the beginning how Harley said almost everyone went missing? Well, he was the employee that didn't. The code saying on felted feet and with bated breath, sleep draws ever near, could mean that Harley is always watching. Be careful what we do because death is near. It all makes sense. Harley Sawyer is our chapter 4 main villain. Who or what do you guys think the main villain for chapter 4 is? Am I overthinking this, or does it make sense? How has he been able to stay alive after all these years? Well, I'm sure that's something we will learn in chapter 4. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like horror game content like this, please consider subscribing. Also, if you want to support the channel more, you can become a member. Don't forget to follow my Twitter at TerrifiedT. Thanks for watching.